I'm John from New Jersey. Today we're going to be servicing a couple of electric hot water heaters. They're about a year old and I'm sure they're full of gunk. I have my trusty assistant here, Chris. Chris, say hello. You've probably seen this guy on the Bathtub Smash videos.
Hello everybody.
Royal Flush videos. He's going to be operating the camera, and let's get started. In order to do these water heaters, I'm going to use is a piece of hose, a bucket, and a screwdriver. Very simple. But before we start draining out the water heater, we have to do a couple things first, so let's get to it. Before we start draining the hot water heaters, we need to shut the electricity off to both of them. Otherwise, if we drain the water out of the hot water heater with power to it, we're going to burn the elements out. I'm at my breaker boxes right here for both my units, and very simply I need to open up the panel. I need to locate the breaker for each hot water heater. Here we go. This is for the second floor unit. I'm going to do likewise with the first floor unit. Locate the breaker, hot water. Here we go. No more power, we're safe to roll. Alright, I'm back in my hot water heaters. First, what I'm going to do here, before I start draining out any of the water, I'm going to shut the water. In order to shut off the cold water, we locate the valve, understand how this works. In my case here, to shut it off, turn it up like that. Now we'll have no water going into the hot water heater, and I can start draining. For me to drain out the hot water heaters, I'm going to use a special piece of hose that I rigged up. You can use a garden hose. This is clear because I want to show you the junk that's coming out of the hot water heater. What I need to do is attach this end of the hose to my hot water heater down at the bottom on the drain valve. Screws on very, very easily, just like a garden hose going onto your spigot on the outside. Make sure it's nice and secure. The opposite end of the hose from my hot water heater, I'm going to put it into a catch pan. Make sure it's nice and secure in there. And the next thing what I want to do is to open up a valve in the hot water heater so we can allow it to drain easily. There's a couple ways of doing that, and I'm going to show you something at the top of the hot water heater. This right here is my pressure release valve. Very simply, if I lift this up, it's going to release pressure. However, that if I do it now before I open up the valve, it's going to shoot water out of the overflow tube. So I want you to keep that in mind. What I want to do first now is go down to the bottom of the hot water heater and open up the valve. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to go back up to the top here and open up the valve on top. And hopefully we could get a shot over here and show you some of the dirt that's coming out. Now this is not too bad at all. As you can see, we have some sediment, not much at all. Again, this is a new hot water heater. It's only about a little over a year old. As you can see from the hose, it's all clear. But if you had a really bad problem with junk in your hot water heater, you'll probably see a lot of blackness. Alright, once I filled up my bucket, what I'm going to do here before disconnecting the hose from the bucket, I'm going to close this valve. Otherwise we're going to have a flood in the basement. It's nice and snug. And what I need to do now is to empty out my bucket full of dirty water here. Okay, I emptied out all the water out of my catch pan here. And being that this water heater is not that dirty, I don't need to really drain the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is put the hose back into here, open up the valve once more down here, just to drain a little bit more, and I'm going to open up the cold water valve up above and allow some water to rush in. Maybe it might knock off some crud. Just going to give it a shot. And although that the camera didn't really catch it, it did knock off some stuff, but again, it's not all that bad. If this hot water heater was really in bad shape, spewing a lot of crud out, I would drain out the whole hot water heater, flush it as best I can, probably repeat the process several times. So I'm pretty much satisfied with what we have here. So I'm going to close the valve down below the base of the hot water heater to stop any more water from coming out. And the pressure release valve on the top, I'm going to end up closing it. Okay, there we go. Everything is pretty much set. I'm going to just simply remove the hose And keep in mind the hose is going to have some water in it, so you might want to be aware of that, because it can leave a mess that you have to mop up later on. Get it all in there. I'm going to jump to my second hot water heater now, and we'll see if there's any difference. Okay, if you happen to be lucky enough where your drain valve is high up off the floor, you can get your catch pan underneath it, as I can in this case. You very simply rig up your drain as such. Again, what I want to do now is to open up the drain valve. I got some thread. And I'm going to go up above and just open up the pressure relief valve to help in draining the hot water heater. And we'll just sit back and let this do its job. Got a little bit of sediment, as you can see here. Again, this is not bad at all. Alright, we had this running for a few minutes already. I'm pretty much satisfied that the water is fairly clean. Not much junk coming out, so I'm not going to empty out the whole hot water heater. So I'm going to close up this valve, like such. And I'm going to go up to the top of the hot water heater. I'm going to close the pressure relief. I flushed out my hot water heaters. As you saw, there wasn't much junk at all. We got clear water out, the whole enchilada. Currently we have no power going to these hot water heaters, which is okay because we don't want to burn out any elements. Everything is pretty much shut as far as the drain valves down below. Before we turn the power back on, what we must do with these electric hot water heaters is to get these tanks filled back up to the top. Otherwise, the top element could be outside of the water level, and they'll burn out instantaneously once the power is applied. So in order to get the water back up to the top of these tanks, what I'm going to do is open up the main water valve to allow water to come in. And we're just going to sit here and wait till they fill up. Okay, we finished filling up the tank as best as they're going to be filled up by just simply opening up the cold water valve. But however, we still may have a pocket up towards the top of the tank. We've got to bleed that air out. So the simple way of bleeding out the air out of each of these hot water heaters is to simply open up the pressure relief valve until they spew a little bit of water out of the overflow tube. Now the overflow tube actually is not in view of the camera, so I'm just going to open it up. Maybe we might be able to hear water spit out, but take my word, when I say it's spewing water, it's spewing water. So here we go. That's all the air you hear. There we go. A little bit of water. You can hear it. It's all over the ground. That's okay. We'll mop it up. And we're going to do the other hot water heater. Alright, we just bled the air out of one of the hot water heaters, and you didn't really see much water coming out of the overflow tube. But I think on the second heater, we're going to get a good shot for you. So we're going to repeat the procedure over here on this hot water heater. Again, we have an air pocket at the top. I'm going to open up the valve at the top, and you will hear some air, and shortly thereafter you're going to see some water spewing out. There we go. All air is now bled out of the hot water heater. These hot water heaters are now serviced for this year. Clean water in them, full. We're ready to turn the power on. So let's do that. Last step, what we want to do now is turn the power back on to each hot water heater, and we'll be back in business. So very simply, I'm at the breaker box. I know which one is my breaker for the hot water heater. I'm going to flip it on, and likewise I'm going to do it with my other heater, and we're good to go. Now, if your hot water heater is on a special box to control the timing of the on and off, next time it cycles to the on position, we'll get hot water. However, if you don't have that mechanism and it relies solely on the thermostat of your hot water heater, as some of these are rigged up to do, it should go on almost immediately. That's about it. Thank you for tuning in. Bye. Ouch. You got it running? Let's see if I can do this without spilling all over myself like I did the first time that you didn't catch on camera. Sorry, no tidal wave. So Chris, how do you like being the cameraman?
Oh, it's great.
How's the bathtub smash? Which ones you enjoyed the most? Bathtub smash, the insulation stuff, or the royal flush?
Yeah, the bathtub smash was the most fun, I think.
Why's that?
You have to break stuff.
Cool. That's what I wanted to hear.